Thank you, Sakurai-san. It's an honor to be here today, and it's a special honor to be asked to moderate for Representative Nikai, who is such a legendary figure in Japanese politics. As you know, he's in his 11th term in the House of Representatives. 33 years he's been serving, representing Wakayama. In your documents you received, you should have his bio here, so I won't go into his long list of posts that he's held. I just want to emphasize three points. The first is that Nikai Sensei has really been a key player in almost all of the major political developments that we've seen over the past 2 decades, from the Hosokawa administration up to the Japan postal reform and to what's happening today. Second point, and I should say as part of that, he's also, as you can see in your documents, he's held a number of cabinet posts, and those include as the Minister of Transportation and the Minister of Economy, which are only people at the highest level of politics in Japan get to. Second, as you can see, right now he serves in the LDP as a Somokaicho, which is the chair of the LDP General Council. And sometimes people hear that and they're not quite sure what that means. But that's actually quite an extraordinary post. That's one of the top 3 posts in the LDP. And it's serving as the LDP Secretary General or as the chair of the Policy Research Council gets all the press. But most of the work tends to be done, or a lot of the main work tends to be done chairing the LDP's General Council. And as you know, this is the position that you sit in to, in a sense, adjust or build up the consensus on all the policies that are coming out of the LDP. And it is the top policy organ in the Liberal Democratic Party. So I think you can get a sense as to how critical and how actually sensitive this position is. One thing that you may not note in your bios is also that he's an ardent internationalist and has played a key role in reaching out to Japan's neighbors, as well as in reaching out globally. And one of the things is, as you may know, or you'll hear a little bit about today, I hope, is that he's been, in a sense, the godfather of the founding of World Tsunami Day. I do hope he will talk a little bit about this later. So I'm just delighted and honored to be able to be here to hear him speak about what Japan's been doing on disaster risk reduction. And I hope that when he speaks, he can also talk a little bit about the lessons for the rest of us around the world with that. So with that, Nikai Sensei, the floor is yours. Thank you.
ご紹介をいただきました。
Thank you for the introduction. My name is Toshihiro Nikai, a member of Japan's House of Representatives. Japan's national flower is the sakura. And finally, we see the sakura blooming today. In Japan, that signals the coming of spring as the cherry blossoms bloom. And here in New York, too, our forebears brought many sakura trees to the area, and they are now in bloom as well. So it is a wonderful season. And today, I am honored to be provided with the opportunity to give you my thoughts on such an important topic of protecting precious life of civilization from natural disasters. On December 22nd, 2015, World Tsunami Awareness Day was adopted unanimously at the United Nations, and I was involved in that. Today, that is part of the focus. And I would like to talk about building national resistance spanning the seas. The last time I have been to New York was about 14 years ago. That was the year following the 9/11 terrorist attacks. At the time, President Bush had come to Japan and met with Fukuda, part of the cabinet. And President Bush, one of his greatest concerns was recovery of Japanese tourists to New York. Those of us involved cooperated and immediately decided to send visits of 1,000 people to New York. And I recall that as part of my memory of visiting New York 14 years ago. But first, here today, I want to give my gratitude for the events at the Great East Japan earthquake. In March of this year, as you know, we marked the 5th year since the Great East Japan earthquake. After the earthquake occurred, Japan received assistance from many people around the world, and that is something that we as Japanese can never forget. In particular, the United States of America gifted and gathered cash donations of more than $200 million, and the U.S. troops in Japan deployed Operation Tomodachi. I am truly grateful for those efforts. Thanks to those efforts, the Tohoku region of Japan is on a solid path to recovery. Often it is said that natural disasters occur again once you have forgotten about them, but today you have no time to forget. Natural disasters occur one after the other. When I first became involved in this effort to see the World Tsunami Awareness Day, the LDP was out of power. At that time in Chile, a tsunami occurred. In Japan, a warning was issued for the tsunami, but no one evacuated. So a tsunami warning is issued and no one evacuates. If a tsunami were truly to come and hit the shores of Japan, that may be a disastrous event. And so a bill related to tsunami was submitted to the Diet to legally require people to evacuate when a tsunami warning was occurred. But the LDP was out of power. We were the opposing party at the time. The bill was never taken up for debate and abandoned. Before you know it, Japan's 3/11, March 11, 2011 occurs, and the Great East Japan earthquake occurred. We could have saved lives. Following the earthquake, the laws such as the Tsunami Countermeasure Law and the National Resilience Act were put forth, and the LDP returned to power. It's a reminder of the weight of responsibility that politics bears. I'd also like to talk about improving relations with nations neighboring Japan. It cannot be ignored. It cannot be avoided. That is a natural disaster. That is the nature of natural disasters. In Asia, there are many regions where there are many natural disasters, not just tsunami or earthquake, but volcanic eruptions, flooding, and damage from typhoons. If you consider these various types of natural disasters, then there's a tremendous amount of damage done to the region of Asia. In 2004, the Sumatra earthquake led to as many as 220,000 or 240,000 victims. and that many lives were lost. Recently, I visited Aceh province in Indonesia, where the damage was greatest. It is important that Japan exhibits leadership on issues like this. This is a common challenge for civilization. We share it with countries such as China and South Korea as well. So it's important that we work together on it. The Great Earth Japan earthquake taught us many harsh lessons. The Okawa Elementary School in Ishimaki City is one example. Teachers at the school told students to run away, and the students initially did run away, but things gradually settled down. So gradually, the children came back to the school grounds. But it was then the second tsunami wave came, and the teachers and students alike were met with this disaster. It is a tragedy. To avoid repeating a tragedy like this, it is most important that we educate and train and drill. And that is what I would like to tell everyone here. I'd like to tell you of a famous story. It's about Hamaguchi Goryo and the Inamura no Hi. There's a description of it provided in the handouts, so I hope you will take a look at it. Hamaguchi Goryo actually passed away while living in New York, and he is now famous, often taken up in history lesson books in Japan. The story looks back 160 years ago. It was November 5 in Hirokawa-cho of Wakayama Prefecture. A major earthquake occurred and a tsunami came. It is a story of success in saving lives in the midst of that disaster. The lessons learned from Inamura no Hi. It's important that we communicate these lessons to many in order to save the lives of many. Inamura no Hi, the discussion of that has been passed on over the generations. 160 years have passed since that day. And at the UN World Conference on Disaster Risk Reduction that was held in Sendai in March of 2015, it was decided that November 5, the day of the Inamura no Hi, I proposed that it be announced as the World Tsunami Awareness Day.
And this is how the member of the parliament visited the various different embassies in order to raise the awareness and had them participate in the various discussions. The Marshall Islands resolved in their own country parliament. Last year, on the 22nd of December, 142 co-sponsors, with a consensus of the 142 countries, these mutual proposals were adopted. Earlier, we have visited the United Nations and expressed my gratitude. And I appreciate it from the bottom of my heart as a Japanese person. We need to ask to the world to work on the measures against the disaster reduction. This World Tsunami Awareness Day is not something that we're doing just for Japan. The idea is to work together with everyone around the world and to learn from the various different difficult experiences and work on coming up with measures against the natural disasters. And therefore, the World Tsunami Awareness Day was established. But this is not a goal. Rather, this is merely the first step. We are now in need of coming up with various different executions. And unless we do that, it is going to become meaningless. I have then proposed to host to the various different states, to the United Nations ambassadors, to host the High School Students Summit on World Tsunami Awareness Day. And also, we have made the decision to start the youth exchange in the scale of 1,000 students annually in order to raise the awareness for disaster prevention and reduction, as well as to work on the issue of the environment. Once the awareness raises, we are certain that we'll be able to lead to the disaster reduction. Last year, we had the opportunity to discuss with the China, Mr. Xi Jinping. One generation plants the trees under which another sits in their shade, meaning that it is most important for Japan and China to hand down the importance to the next generation, the peace as well as safety. In this particular round, with the youth exchanges, we want the students to be planting trees in the places that they visit around the world. We want them to hand down the baton of peace and safety. And this tree planting will be prepared using the government budget. Next fiscal year's budget, we're planning to spend 9 billion yen. This will all go for the various different municipalities and also to the various different states. And by tree planting, we want to protect mutual lives, and we want to challenge in this endeavor. Next, I would like to discuss about the water problem. Our next challenge is the issues revolving water. To secure a safe drinking water leads to protecting the human lives. If you think around the world, there are 700 million people who don't have any access to the safe drinking water. And on top of that, every year, there are various different disasters. And as a result, 160 million kids get sick as a result of the unsanitary water, of which 340,000 kids are losing their lives. To solve the issue about water is to also protect the precious lives, which in turn will lead to the stability of the state as well as the society, and in turn it will also help remove the risks for wars and conflicts. From the perspective that the water problem will resolve and bring about peace to the world, we need to continue to work on the measures for a disaster risk reduction. Last but not least, I would like to mention how the importance of life is a common theme in the world. This is something that we want to appeal to the world And we want to think as Japan as to what we can do, work together with everybody, and to challenge and to face the natural disasters, to pass down the baton of peace to the posterity. Seems easy, but we need to work with patience. I also have a strong, deep relationship with the lotus flower. Lotus symbolizes peace. Lotus Road, the road to peace, starting from Japan, is to link Asia as well as the world. Professor Oga have discovered these lotus seeds and is then called Oga lotus. But with praying for peace, we have been planting these Oga lotus in China, Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, Thailand, Myanmar, India, and Qatar. These are the countries where we've planted these lotuses in order to pass on the baton of peace to the young generations. I would like to continue with this lotus flower diplomacy and to make every effort for this endeavor. I would like to promise that we will continue with this endeavor. I would like to express my sincere gratitude to the people here in the United States of America. Thank you very much.
Now, there's one other initiative I understand that you played a large role of in Japan, and this is the Kokudo Kyojin-ho, the National Resilience Law. And my understanding is that this is something that's quite unique to Japan. Could you explain that a little bit, what role that you played, and if there are lessons that the United States and other countries should take from this?
Well, we will be taking baby steps, but even though it's a baby step, we will want to talk about the national resilience in these various different countries here in the U.S. and other countries, and we would like to bring about the awareness and get the cooperation from the young, the little children, and all the way up to the adults, to as many people as possible. We need to get the cooperation, and without which we will not be able to be successful. So I would like to appeal about the national resilience, the necessity of the national resilience, and appeal to as many people as possible here in the U.S. and to people here in New York. If we can ask for their cooperation, we feel very strongly, and I am very happy to be able to have the opportunity to speak here today at Japan Society.
I'm going to go for questions quite shortly, but I think that there is a lot that, as I said, we do have to learn in terms of disaster risk reduction and disaster responses from Japan and the U.S. And not just this law, but after March 11, and as you know, a lot of the people probably in the audience here were very active, whether raising funds for the response or trying to help people in the Tohoku region. But when you look at what happened in 3/11, what is the most important lesson that you take from that? And what should the rest of the world learn from how Japan dealt with that disaster?
Well, we have the challenge of working on the tsunami, the prevention or the reduction of the disaster, which city, which town, and to whom. This is a natural disaster that strikes everybody. And so this is something that one has to work on a daily basis. We have to be prepared constantly so that even if it strikes anytime, we'll be prepared. So that is the perspective that we need to have. So this is the kind of appeal. And that, as a result of the establishment of World Tsunami Awareness Day, I feel very encouraged that the United Nations have also taken up on this issue.
But I was quite taken in your speech, and you talked about the fact that disasters are a human issue. They unite us. They unite Japan and China. They unite Japan and Korea. And this is particularly important in Asia, because Asia is the region of the world that's most vulnerable to disasters. I was looking through some statistics recently, and in the past 30 years, out of the number of victims of disasters worldwide, 55% are from Asia. If you look at the economic losses worldwide over the past 30 years, more than 40% took place in East Asia. So it seems that cooperation on disasters between Japan, China, Korea. That I was talking about the cooperation, disaster cooperation in Asia, and the fact that Asia is the most vulnerable region in the world to these disasters. And so I wanted to ask, I understand that you were also involved in the Sichuan earthquake when that hit in China, and that you've been very closely involved in reaching out to Korea. Is there a role for cooperation among the nations of Asia, even though tensions are very difficult right now, on responding jointly to disasters? Is this a way that Japan can reach out? Maybe not of the Japanese government and Japanese NGOs.
The various countries of the region are moving more and more towards being more open to cooperating on these various issues, but there's still much progress to be made. With November 5 being commemorated as the World Tsunami Awareness Day, I believe that this is the day where we mark the start line. Asia, these disasters are a problem in Asia. Since I was young, I have believed that whether it's economic issues, trade issues, these are issues where countries within Asia should cooperate. And that is a spirit, that is a belief that I have held. And the East Asia, it's normally called ERIA, but the East Asia Economic Research Center, the establishment of that center is something that I worked very hardly on. And fortunately, its headquarters have been established in Jakarta, Indonesia. So it is complete. It has been complete now for 10 years. And we're finally at a point now where issues that the Asian region face, what needs to be done for the development of countries in the region, when we consider those challenges, disaster prevention and mitigation. This is the proposal that we have made about disaster prevention and mitigation in this area. Its headquarters is in Jakarta, in Indonesia. And this organization can work very hard to deploy large-scale activities. And Many of those involved have told me so with passion. So I think that this is one example of success that we can expect. But today we are here in the United States, and I think it's most important that we win the cooperation of many in the United States. Earlier I met with officials from the U.S. and spoke to them of this issue. This was Japan's proposal, and I wanted to know how the United States felt about it. It's important to know how the U.S. feels about it. But I was told that they were very happy to go along with it, and that was very reassuring to me.
The audience now. And has anybody want to jump in at this point? I see a gentleman in the back row, and if you could hand the microphone to him.
Thank you very much, Honorable Nikai. It is my pleasure to having you here. My name is Shino, and I work for the public sector. And my question is that, having said that, the government of Japan has had quite difficult time to increase its offshore development assistance in a global arena, and also there are strong needs of investment in the region, especially East Asia, transportation, energy, water, and so on. And so my question for you is that what role that politicians like you can play in order to mainstream your concept of disaster-prone something or national resilience to utilize these precious government resources to fulfill various needs that international community is currently having and expecting to Japan.
So just to make sure we follow.
Sorry, I'm really nervous.
That's no, but when resources are very tight, there are many demands.
Yes.
So how do you implement disaster risk reduction when there's so many other priorities?
As your position as politician.
Thank you for your question. National resilience is a topic that many of us in the Diet have gathered together to study upon. It's been 4 years since we have been doing so. We've held 107 study sessions already. Some of the conclusions of our thoughts is that national resilience plays a role in a variety of aspects, and the number of aspects are only increasing. We're faced with many and many needs, and but what's most important? When you consider those in need, it's important that we're able to assist those in need, to help those in need. What is it that we can do to that end? And how quickly can it be done? So quickly building a relationship of cooperation is important. To that end, when it comes to disaster risk reduction, there are many ways to put it. But we are all humans. Even if we come from different nations, we come in different shapes and forms. But when a natural disaster occurs and someone is in need of help, it's important to rush as quickly as possible and provide that help and cooperation. That environment needs to be built among nations. And it's not enough for me just to say that. We are working little by little to prepare for that. I mentioned earlier getting together 1,000 high school students to have them share opinions on disaster prevention. That's one aspect of it. I hope I answered your question.
If I could just follow up, and one aspect of it that the gentleman was asking was also about development aid. But is it fair to say that disaster risk reduction, resilience, have become incorporated into Japanese foreign policy? Mm.
外交の位置づけにしたいということを思っておりますが。
Certainly, we would like to see it as part of foreign diplomacy. Prime Minister Abe has answered about these issues at the Diet. For example, the World Tsunami Awareness Day was established. What does Prime Minister Abe think of that? And Prime Minister Abe's answer was that it's not just a simple matter that Japan made a proposal and it was approved. It's a change for civilization. To protect lives of civilization from natural disasters, it's about working together to that end. And that was the gist of Prime Minister Abe's answer at the National Diet. And that is consistent with the spirit with which we'd like to pursue these activities. We have really just begun, and this is an issue we seek to address moving forward.
I'll see. Does anybody else have a question for Nikai-sensei? And we'll take two right here. One here and then one right in back, please.
二階先生、今日はありがとうございます。シティグループの中山と申します。
Thank you, Honorable Nikai. I am from Citigroup. Within the United States, you have the situations where on the national level versus on the local level, politicians look to push on the expenses of natural disasters on each other. In other words, should recovery costs from the natural disasters in the U.S. be covered by the federal government or the local governments? And I'm sure similar issues occur within Japan. Does Japan have any advice for the United States in terms of solutions for issues like that?
And I think there was one question right in the back.
My name is Hiei and I work in construction. I have two questions. What specifically is national resilience? Forgive you for my lack of understanding, but is it about preventing natural disasters, or is it about building evacuation routes? And what does the government do with that, with respect to that? My second question is, you mentioned the need for international cooperation, but exactly what kind of cooperation is needed? And what makes it necessary for cooperation from overseas? And not necessarily in theoretical, but in more specific, what is needed today?
最初のご質問いただいた方でありますが。
And so, with regard to the first question
我々はその
from the first questioner,
を進めていく上において
as we move forward with building national
取
resilience,
り組むべき課題は
some of the challenges that we must
これから
address
であります。で
lay ahead of us.
たくさんの
They are not done yet.
各国の皆さんとのそれぞれ異なるご意見を頂戴し
We've heard various differing opinions from many people of many nations.
最初にやっ
Some say that this is very important. Some say that this first must be addressed. And
まず
that gives
仕
you
事を始めることから
the gist of the needs that we meet. First, it's important that you begin by getting to work.
強靭化と避難はどうだっていう
Also, there was a question about evacuation as part of building national resilience, and that's a very broad question.
避難も何から順番に大事かというと
So when it comes to evacuation, I mean, what's most important?
逃げること
Evacuation is most important. Run away. That's first and foremost. If you can, run to a high place.
ですからインドネシアのアチェの大
And
災害は
if you look at the damage done in Aceh province in Indonesia, these big roads, everyone was in one row trying to run away. But the tsunami caught them quickly,
でこの海の方へ連れて行っちゃったという
and they were swept away to the sea.
初歩的というか
And it's a striking
方としては
image. But the needs
残念
there
つけられたのにということはあるんですがこれを
is, I believe that they could have been saved
これはもう学
if they had run to high places. And it's important that they be educated so in school.
一番大事だ
And that's one of the most important things is education.
国土強靭化っていうんですが
Next, talking about the national resilience.
もちろん予算も
Of
必要で
course, you need the
その予
budget,
算が
and this budget,
先ほどのお話にありましたように
as mentioned before,
地方レベルが
whether it's going to be on the regional level or whether this is going to be on the national level,
両方が
I
協力し
believe
合うことが
that
大事
both need to cooperate
なぜ
with
か
one
というと
another
国がみんな
because
やってくれるんだからっていうことで
we can't just leave it to the government just because the government is going to do everything. So the regional government
試合放棄しているようなこと
will
だったんではこの
give
災
up.
害対
And
策は
if
成り
that was
立
the
ちません
case,
したがって
this disaster reduction measure is not going to work out. So it's going to be a win 50%, 50% cooperation. So this is going to be the most important
いずれに
point.
しましても
Either way,
日本が今やり始めたって言ったって
what we've just
これも
started
本当に
is
初歩的なことで
really
す
a
これから
basic thing.
こそ
It's going to be in the
だ
future
んだん
that we
より良い
will
もの
gradually
肉付けをして立派なものに仕上げて
make into something much more
ス
ground
タートを切ったばかりだという
that we
ふうに
will
ご理解
make it bigger. So please understand that we've only begun.
We'll go next. One right here, please.
Hi, my name is James Park. Being a resident of New York City, I lived through Sandy hurricane, and as an architect studying emergency management, kind of disaster risk management, and so learning through that, even Sandy, how the recovery, noticed that all the partnerships failures, and even the residents still didn't go into the apartment, even in Sandy, Brooklyn, Staten Island. So from a Japanese government official learning lesson from 3/11, what can you tell us some facts from the 3/11 itself? How many residents affected and how many residents have gone back? And what is the status of the nuclear power plant? And also, as a government official, what is your lessons that changed that you learned from 3/11?
Now, that's a very big question there. But maybe we can ask Nikai Sensei to focus on, as a politician and a leader, what is the main lesson that you took from 3/11?
311の
311, the major disaster.
何を学んだ
What have we learned from it?
やっぱり
I would say
常にこの災害に対
that
して
we have to constantly be prepared
不意打ちというのがありますが
psychologically
全く無関心無関係であった人
to those people who are completely unrelated and uninterested. When these people
計り知れないものがあります
are struck with disasters, it's unmeasurable. However, if you're somewhat prepared, and if they know what to do when there is a disaster,
この
in Japan right now, in the case of a disaster,
1週間は自分で
well, at least
食べ物
we are supposed to prepare to have enough food for a week, as
1週間
enough food for a week,
食べ物を貯蔵することを
to store food enough for a week. And this is not compulsory or anything like that, but we are mutually trying to think about that. So this is the type of social movement that is gradually disseminating.
311の教訓の一つ
And another lesson that we learned from 311 is the national level, so the government or the regional governments.
頼るという
We can't completely rely on the governments. It is impossible.
いかに
You have to be
大変大事なこと
prepared yourself, and that is crucial.
は思っております
So that is my thought.
国も
Because
行政も
whether it's a government or whether it's a regional government, they are important too. But
住宅を失った人とか
those people who lost their homes or
子供を失った
those people who have lost their
需
children,
要の方がもう何でも
the
なってくるわけで
the demand is so much stronger.
これをみんなでカバーするっていうのは
And to satisfy all of the needs is very difficult. So those people who can be self-sufficient should be more self-sufficient. So this is the type of attitude that we need to have and to be prepared in that manner.
Thank you. Should I ask, we have one or two more, please? The microphone's gone. I should say this will be the last round here, so if we could take one more question as well, or two more.
ジェットロ所長の横田でございます。10年前
My name is Yokota. 10 years ago, I was able to work on the regional revitalization under METI.
防災をテーマとした取り組み素晴らしいと思うんですが
I think it is wonderful to be working on the disaster risk reduction, but not just the tsunami, but there are hurricanes and various other different disasters. So I think that the idea is to work not just on the tsunami, but on the other disasters as well.
というお話ございましたけども
And you talked a little bit about it. In thinking about the disaster risk reduction, what kind of wisdoms should the various different states have? So various different states have to participate and have to be thinking to what we can do. Is that something that you are thinking about? Or if you have any ideas, I would love to know about it.
さんとこういう場で
Well, to be able to
お目にかかることができ
see you, talk with you on an occasion like this is wonderful.
これから
To
問題は
your question,
多様に
these issues are diversified and the issues are varied. And already we have to be thinking about the nuclear power plant.
東部でもこれ大問題で
Now, the nuclear power plant itself, in itself is a huge issue, nuclear power, and it's something that mankind has to think about, and we don't know whether we can come to any resolution. It's got to be a serious measure, a discussion that we need to think. And I think that there are such large issues that we need to be looking into.
困難なことでありますが
So it's extremely difficult. But
でき
I
ることからやっていくよりしょうがないと
think that it's important to tackle with what one can do first,
抑えてしまうということも
To do something to resolve it easily is equally close to impossible. But with regards to the nuclear power plant issue in Fukushima Prefecture, this is becoming a huge challenge, and it remains to be a huge issue. So those people who are involved, so the current Minister of MITI, whenever there is an opportunity, I would ask as to what the progress is, what is going to be happening in the future. I, myself, as a Japanese citizen, would say that this is something that we really need to get together and have to overcome this issue. And this is how I having the MITI to work very hard. But needless to say that we have a huge challenge in front of us. We need to therefore think of how to spring back from that. But it's not something that we can do this easily and quickly. But having said that, with the wisdom of mankind, for as much as possible, we would think the issue as the top priority and to prioritize and to tackle on the issue. So at Fukushima Prefecture, unless this issue is resolved, we would never be able to fully recover. We would never be able to declare that we have fully recovered from 3/11, and therefore 3/11 and the nuclear power issue is inseparable. We cannot avoid this issue, and it was thought that nuclear power was the most useful power source, and this is how we have been using it. But then this has now become a huge challenge. Japan is making every effort and is appealing to the world. And we want to be able to say to the world, to declare to the world that we have resolved it. No matter how much we need to spend, we need to make every effort to resolve this issue.
Thank you. And I'll come last chance if anybody has a question here. And if not, then I'll ask final one to close. Do you feel, it's 5 years since 3/11, do you feel that Japan is now better prepared for the next disaster? Is Japan more resilient now?
Well,
3/11, as far as the forecast or the future ahead, I think we have a better idea. So there are all these plans and as to the measures as to what happens after the disaster. But then it's a matter of how we're going to resolve this nuclear power issue. Put that aside for a moment. Let's look at what are some of the other issues. And I think we need to focus on those other issues. And from that perspective, I think that Japan, whether Japan is now better prepared, fully prepared, I think that is the question. Well, Japan has really felt the pain. We were thrown to the ground. It was a huge shock, and we need to be thinking on how to work on this measure, and this is a national priority. So, with regards to the disaster risk reduction, we really need to have a strong determination and to work on the various different measures. So, I've been discussing that the national resilience issue from early morning, from 7:30 in the morning, the members of the parliament come together and discuss about in the study group. From 8 o'clock to various different members of the Diet would participate. They would participate thinking that this is their responsibility and they are facing as to how to challenge with this issue. So I hope all the New Yorkers here, I am sure there are numerous who are very knowledgeable and who have a lot of different expertise. So we hope that the New Yorkers will also give us the support in working together on this issue. I am very happy that I was able to participate in this wonderful opportunity. Japan Society is quite something, and thank you very much for giving us the opportunity.
That's another important lesson is that we need to learn is this resolve to study and to learn and to improve. So there's going to be, afterwards, there'll be a reception, I understand, up on the first floor that you're all invited to. Before that, I'd like to ask you to join me in an applause for Nikai Sensei. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.